No one will ever care more about your own life than you do. That's not a judgment or anything, it's just a normal part of being alive as a human. We are intensely interested in ourselves, even though we also carry the capacity to act altruistically as well. You have to take care of yourself. You make yourself strong first so you can be strong for others. Self-interest only becomes a problem, however, when it shades into narcissism and we lose the capacity for empathetic connection with others. Will Storr says that this has been happening for decades and he's not alone. Social scientists like Jean Twenge and a host of others have pointed to something they've been calling the narcissism epidemic, where people everywhere are becoming ever more self-involved and self-serving. Again, there's nothing wrong with taking an interest in yourself and your own well-being, but there's a point at which this all becomes pathological. According to the evidence compiled in Selfie, this point has been reached. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Matt Karamazov. First off, I'd like to thank all of my supporters on Patreon, specifically Jeremy Steingraber here. Together, we've raised $510 for Doctors Without Borders and $150 for First Book. They supply books to kids who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford them or have access to them. And actually, for every new subscriber to the channel, I donate $1 to First Book. And so these are small amounts. These are nothing, compared to what we're going to be able to raise in the future, but it's a pretty damn good start. And so I want to thank all of my supporters on Patreon. Patreon is where you can find all of my book summaries. So 1,000 books that I've read and taken notes on, extensive notes. You'll find that on my Patreon. And the monthly book giveaway that I do every single month, you'll get extra entries if you're on my Patreon. Anyways, so that's enough about me. We're talking about the book Selfie by Will Storr, and we're going to follow pretty much the classic book review structure. What's it about, what I thought of it, and should you read it? And we're starting right now. Selfie is about the sharp rise in narcissism and self-involvement in a culture like ours, which is so bound up with the relentless pursuit of the perfection of the self. Oftentimes, our behaviors are a product of the environment that we find ourselves in, and we figure out ways to succeed in that environment, and in doing so, we change our behaviors in order to increase the likelihood of success, basically. And I agree with Storr that upping our level of self-involvement and narcissism just to get ahead in the world and achieve success isn't worth the wave of suicides that the failure to achieve that success can and does lead to. Obviously, some self-involvement is good, some social conditioning is good, and being a real person, a true individual in a lonely crowd, is an ideal with a lot of merit, but there's a limit, and we need to know when we've crossed it. Now, I do think that he's harder on Carl Rogers and even on people like Ayn Rand than they really deserve, and in a book with such a wide scope, you're necessarily going to lose some nuance. But this is a very honest book, and an extremely necessary one since we're dealing with such important issues. Storr relates research in the book that says it's a remarkably robust effect. We found this relationship between social perfectionism and suicidality in all populations where we've done the work, including among the disadvantaged and the affluent. Our hypothesis is that social perfectionists are much more sensitive to signals of failure in the environment. What this means is that the relentless pursuit of perfection and the pressure to achieve that perfection and display it on all your social media platforms is leading real people to end their lives, and it's changing all of our behavior on a mass level. And this has been going on for a very long time. Right here, in fact, is an excellent diagnosis. Storr says it's not difficult, though, to detect the general model of ideal selfhood that the culture of today has come up with. It's usually depicted as an extroverted, slim, beautiful, individualistic, optimistic, hardworking, socially aware, yet high self-esteeming global citizen with an entrepreneurial guile and a selfie camera. It enjoys thinking it's in some way unique, that it's trying to make the world a better place, and one of the traits it'll value highly is that of personal authenticity, or, quote, being real. It'll preach that in order to find happiness and success, you must be, quote, true to yourself and follow your dreams. And if you dream big enough, you'll discover that, quote, anything is possible. Oh, and it's usually younger than 30. This model of the ideal self is extremely odd. Who is this person? The journey of our current Western model of self really began in ancient Greece. It was there that our idea of ourselves as potentially perfectible individuals who were responsible for our own fates came into being. A great deal of who we so intimately feel we are is the product of the thoughts and experiences of long dead people. It's like removing a chunk of your face and realizing it belongs to someone else. It really makes you wonder who exactly is the real you, and how can you even know whether you found out? How do you even know what's the real you and who you actually are? And it takes so much more introspection and time alone and time with other people for them to sort of reflect back to who you think you might be. And reflection on that, you have to you spend so much time figuring it out, and other people are always trying to tell you who or who they think that you should. It's so complicated, and there's really no one specific answer. I mean, there are different situations where you are totally different people. When I'm with my parents, I'm one person that is the authentic me. I'm myself around them. Just like when I'm by myself, I'm the authentic me, and no one would ever want to spend time. I'd never put that person out into the world. No one would want to spend time with the me that I am by myself. But at the same time, I'll go to the bar, I'll go to the gym or what have you, and I'm a completely different, I behave in a different way in those different situations, but again, it's all me. So the self changes in exactly the way that people like Storr would expect, in basically different environments. So different environments show you how to act in order to succeed in that environment. There's a way that I have to, or I don't want to say have to, but should act if I want to be accepted or promoted or sort of receive benefits from the people that populate that environment. So at the bar, there's a specific way that I have to or should behave in order to get the result, the social results that I'm after. And I sort of have to adopt or shift my personality a little bit in order to conform to the expectations of the people in that environment. And what Storr is saying is that we're doing this all the time in every single situation, and we're not sort of giving any sort of reflection on why we're doing this, how far we're changing who we actually are, what sort of efforts we're going through, and what the actual attempt is doing to ourselves, to our real image of ourselves, if that even exists anymore. That being said, I know when I'm not being myself. I know when I'm being fake or unreal, and when I'm writing, I'll write a sentence that is just not me. I don't know where that came from. It sounds wrong. I will delete it. And you'll never hear me on YouTube saying, subscribe to my channel, guys, or anything like that. I will definitely tell you to hit the like button. It helps the YouTube algorithm. If you want more people to see this video, definitely hit the like button, and more people will see it. It tells YouTube that people are enjoying this video and they should show it to more people. I will totally do that, but you'll never hear me sort of with this sort of effusive, fake sort of cheery voice. It's just not me. So after living with myself for something like 30 years, I have a pretty good idea of what is not me. So when I say or do or write something that's not me, I feel it. And Will Storr, he actually says something quite interesting as well in the book. He says that when I feel an emotion of revulsion because my stomach is a long way from the ideal shape, that's my culture talking. I've absorbed it. It's inside me. To a significant extent, it controls me like a parasite, admonishing me when I stray too far from its models. Now, this is more of a book review video than me giving advice, but if I had to, I would talk a little bit about what's called cultural gravity. And it's basically the idea that the wider culture, the people that are around you, and it doesn't have to be the culture at large, it can just be the people that you surround yourself with, they have a gravitational pull, and they're basically pulling you towards their vision of themselves, the state that they're in right now. So if you hang around poor people, you're probably going to be poor. You hang around fat people, you're going to be fat. You hang around stupid people, you're going to read James Patterson. I'm kidding. It just works with everyone and everything that you could possibly become or be like. If you don't like the people that you're hanging around with, if you don't want to become more like them, you have to resist that cultural gravity. You have to break free and join, go find someone else. Find someone you want to be like or be more like, and start hanging out with them more often. Maybe by subscribing to this channel, who knows? It also just comes down to a self-respect thing. Are you going to really let, some other sort of this faceless culture that doesn't really care about your own life at all dictate these major life choices to you? Are you going to let other people decide your own future, or are you going to actually do that for yourself? Are you going to resist some of this cultural gravity and this perfectionism pressure and actually, make something real of yourself? Not necessarily successful or beautiful or anything like that, but make something real. Become a real person. Become you as much as you possibly can, whatever that means. I don't even know what that means. You have to figure that out for yourself, and it takes a long time. It takes quiet and silent reflection and reading the best books and just spending a whole lot of time with yourself and sort of getting to know who you are and who you want to be. Anyways, not an advice video. I'm going to leave you with a final quote from Selfie, which is it was a really, really interesting read. Like I said, I think he's tougher on a few people than he had to be. It gave short shrift. I don't think I've ever used that term in a video to ideas like Carl Rogers' unconditional positive regard, the great things in Ayn Rand. All of these people, they have positive contributions to society, and he was just sort of eh. But that being said, it's an excellent book, and I will leave you with this one final quote. In 2010, the first iPhone with a front-facing camera arrived. Although it was envisioned primarily as a tool for video chats, we the people surprised the technologists by mostly doing something else with it. By 2014, 93 billion selfies were being taken every day on Android phones alone. Every third photograph taken by an 18 to 24-year-old was of themselves. You had arrived. And to get along and get ahead in this new you-saturated social media arena, you had to be a better you than all the other yous that were suddenly surrounding you. You had to be more entertaining, more original, more beautiful, with more friends, have wittier lines, and more righteous opinions, and you'd best be doing it looking stylish in interesting places with your breakfast healthy, delicious, and beautifully lit. I want to know what you guys think of the ideas here in this video, in this book, and let me know if you've read it, if you're planning to read it. Basically anything that comes to mind that you want to share, put it down below in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Down in the description as well, there are details about the monthly book giveaway. And if you love to read, if you love books, anything like that, there's going to be so much down there for you. And you can follow me on Instagram at @TheMattGramazov. And remember, once you learn to read, you will be forever free. So train hard, read heavy, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.